Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Crayfish. I know it's been a little bit. We are going to update on Bitcoin. We've been sitting on our hands. That's been the roll. We had a new all-time high this week, although it was pretty dang short-lived. So let's talk about some things and hopefully give you guys an idea of what's coming next. I think I've got a good idea because I've reviewed way too much data so that you don't have to. So if you want to shortcut your way to money, watch this. All right, let's start on the chart here. Okay, I'm going to go short term. I'll move myself. Let's go 6 months here. And we'll zoom it in. All right, guys. So we talked about this big pennant, right? We kind of got a deviation to the downside. And now we have broken out to the upside. That's what happened this week. And then arguably this is a big retest happening right now. Doesn't look bearish when you draw it like this, right? But it's a pretty scary price action in some ways. We dropped from our all-time high to, we dropped over 6% in about a day, maybe 2 days. That's not for the faint-hearted, especially when you're holding double levered ETFs. Me. So, yeah, we're cooking. That said, I think the structure is still intact. I think we still do have, I think 130 plus in the cards, at least 125 plus, please. It's looking relatively bullish, and I reviewed last cycles during these time periods to kind of get an idea. So let's review some of those. We'll talk about it, and then we'll go from there. All right, so first I'm going to start with just like the broad view. We'll look at monthly returns, and you can see this pretty clear trend of our post-halving years, which if you don't know are the years after the halving of Bitcoin. I'm not going to go into what the halving is in this video, but don't worry about it. Just know Bitcoin runs in 4-year cycles. For this cycle, we are in the post-halving year, right? So 2013 was the other post-halving year, 2017, 2021, and now we're in 2025, all 4 years apart. Okay, let's look at those years. All of them, 2013, 2017, 2021, and 2025, all had a red June. Okay, then what did they all have? You see, they had 2013, green July and August, red September. 2017, green July and August, red September. 2021, green July and August, red September. So far this year, green July and August. That said, these are pretty lackluster returns, right? In the past, 2020, we had 22% return in August. 2017, we had 77% return in August. And 2013, we had 30% return in August. All of which, even with diminishing returns, as the asset of Bitcoin gets larger, it's less likely to have as strong a volatility in both directions, negative and positive. That said, we likely have more to run in August this year. Okay, so do I think we're going to close at 3.6%? No, I think it will be above that. Okay, that is what I believe. That's what I think is most likely based on history. I do think September will be red. How red, I can't tell you, right? In September, or in 2021, it was only 1% red. But if you look at 2017, it was over 10% red. 2013 was about 4% red. Okay, so a moderate pullback in September is what I'm expecting. That also aligns with the global money supply downtrend we've been seeing. And it goes directly against maybe the euphoria mindset that you've been hearing about, which is another reason why I think it's definitely going to happen. The market is getting overheated bit by bit, and I think especially if you get a big move in the back half of August for Bitcoin, I think you're looking at a little bit of a break in September, especially as we start to get rate cuts that can bring uncertainty to markets. Traditionally, there's some pullback, and I think altcoins will get destroyed in September and potentially October, and those will be what I will be buying a good amount of, trying to exit my Bitcoin positions in the next few weeks. Okay, that's the general roadmap. Now let's look more specifically into the charts, because I think it can be helpful to look actually at what it each looked like. Okay, so we're going to go to weekly candles, which are a great way to look at things. If you're doing your own analysis, I highly suggest it. They're just a super helpful way to kind of break down price action for the longer term. Okay, so let's go over here. And actually, I'm going to overlay all of our August moves. I'll do September too. You know what? Why the heck not? Onto our current chart. Okay. So first, we've got this 2021 move, right? We've talked about this in the past. Go watch my last video if you haven't seen it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and technically the beginning of the 8th week was when this move topped the summer strong move in 2021. Okay, 8 weeks, right? Ending, I think maybe more important than the time is when it was. Ending last week of August, first week of September. Okay, now we can take the fractal. So let's do that. If I can find this tool. Here we go, bar pattern. All right, we're going to take from the low. Let's go until we've reached the new high again. Sure. All right, we're going to set that over here and leave it for now. All right, let's go back to 2017. Okay. We got to zoom way in because Bitcoin's a parabolic asset. Yep, this is how it goes. It's tires the fingers, but it's worth it for the gains. All right, here's the move. Looks a lot more aggressive in 2017 because it was. You can see from the low, also in July, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks up. Ending when? The last week of August. Okay, same exact timeline. Let's take the bar pattern. Go from right there to the new all-time high. And we will stick that over here. I'll adjust those in a second. All right, last one, 2013, right? Let's go. Got to zoom way in again. We know the drill. But this is worth it. This is what you do, guys, to build conviction. Okay? That's what I'm trying to do right now. Because it's hard just sitting on your hands while things happen. But sometimes you got to trust the analysis. All right, from the low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 weeks up. Also ending the last week of August. Okay? So it's either been last week of August or first week of September that we have gotten the top every single time. Okay? So that's what I want to sell. That's my plan. It's not rocket science, right? I'll take it from the low here to the new high. Okay, take this bar pattern and we'll bring it over. Now, hopefully this is making sense to you. Traditionally, before we talked about, big pullback week 6, all these types of things based on the 8 week, I think I'm moving away from that solely because this move hasn't looked like any of the prior moves. And what I mean by that, we're going to show pretty clearly with this bar pattern. Got to go so far up because that's where our current price action is. Okay, there we go. Now we can zoom ourselves in. That's way too big. All right, we're going to zoom in here. Bear with me. I promise this will be worth it. Okay, we'll zoom in here as well. We got our 3 bar patterns. Right, here they are. And we've got our current zone. I'm going to delete these lines for now. All right. So first of all, I want you to just look at this cycle, right? This is the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would say 4 weeks. We're very much on trend, in line. But then we've just stalled, guys. I mean, we've been at this weekly zone for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So really the second half just didn't go straight up. Yeah, we got this wick. Could potentially be one of our, kind of, that could be that 8-week mark. But I think more likely you'll see it continue to run into this last week of August. So that would be the week after next. Next week starts on the 18th. That'll take us to the 25th, and then there you go. So we've got potentially 2 more weeks of fun at the longest, maybe 3 at the longest. Okay, let's overlay these bar patterns because I think they're helpful. Right, so remember, these are all, I'm going to zoom out. There we go. So you put this, and it's tough when you're overlaying things that are very different from one another, but this looks pretty decent, I would say. Right, you get the low, coming up a ways, and then it's showing top out around like 135, pull back to around 100. Sounds about right to me, okay? Let's look at this next one. The other thing I should do is condense it this way, because remember it topped out that last week of August, which would be right around here. Yeah, there you go. All right, let's do this one. From the low, we're getting this kind of explosive rally, and this happened a lot faster. I think you can put it somewhere right around there. And then we'll do the last one. Here's the low right here. Line that up. This one's the 2013 one, I think, because it's such a wide chart difference, but get the best I can here. Okay. Hopefully this shows you these top outs, right? That kind of like last week of August zone. And then you get a pullback into, these are not accurate, but yeah, into September. Picture these more condensed. It's tough when you're going between scales, but this gives you a general idea of what we should see, and you can see all of them are topping somewhere around like 132, 133, somewhere around there. I'm going to delete them now so that we can actually see what we're doing. But I do think it's helpful to kind of visualize. That said, right, so we're holding support. We should hopefully, based on kind of seasonality, have about 2 more weeks to run, maybe a week, maybe 3 weeks. And I think that's what we're looking at, okay? That said, Ethereum's been going crazy, right? If you've seen this move, I mean, it has been absolutely wild. This has been a, off the low, 243% move now in 2 months, 3 months. It's moving. I would not buy, if you're not in, don't FOMO in now. Wait for the September pullback. There will be a pullback. I think September is your last shot, though. And then we go. I'm expecting Ethereum to reach highs somewhere around 7,000 for the cycle, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So that's kind of where I'm at with things. I want to tell you what I'm doing, right? So my goal is sell into that zone on Bitcoin, mainly time-based, right? Ideally, it is also, above 125, that zone. But really, I'm letting the price action do its own thing and focusing on the time. Once I've sold that, right? What am I buying in September? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to do a whole video on this, but it's going to be a mix of XRP, Ethereum, Solana, and a little bit of Bitcoin on the pullback. Okay? Those are all the cryptos I want. The other main one that I actually want to buy right as I'm selling Bitcoin likely and hold into that September pullback is gold, guys. And I know this might sound crazy. You're like, this is a crypto channel. Why are we talking about gold? Gold is boring. Well, gold is not that boring this year. Okay? Let me prove it to you. Right? Look at this move. This was a 36% move in 16 weeks, guys. You can't be mad at that. That's crazy for an asset this large. Okay, that is ballistic. That's 4 months. You're making 36%. Okay? So, I think that gold has the potential, right? Look at this bull pennant. Textbook. I think on a break of this upper band and using it as support, somewhere around like 3,400, 3,440, somewhere in there, I think we have the potential to get a really strong measured move, which I can show you. You're going to take the flag stick height and replicate it. Okay, where does that lead you? Above $4,000, guys. I think we will see $4,000 gold this year. And I think it's a pretty low risk trade. Look how long it's been consolidating for. And once gold starts to move, it often just continues to move, kind of like a slow, steady freight train. Okay, so I really like this, especially if we can get this breakout into the euphoria that we're hopefully going to get in other markets in the next 2 weeks. Because why am I not afraid to hold this in September when I think everything else is going to pull back? Well, let's review the exact timeline that we had the major pullback earlier this year. Okay? It started on the week of February 18. It ended on the week of April 7th. Okay? February 18, April 7th. February 18, April 7th. Let's review what gold was doing during that time frame. Okay? So, we're going to go to February 18 right here, this week. I don't know if this is going to mark it. Well, let me get a... Maybe I can put arrows. Yeah, here we go. All right, this is February 18, right here. Okay? You can see we got about like 1 week of pullback. And then as the rest of the market absolutely freaked out, scared itself shitless, gold went ballistic. Okay? Then, where's our week of April 7th? This week, right? The absolute massive candle. Right there. Okay, and then we had a few more weeks after that. Just between those 2 weeks, when the S&P went down more than 25%, I will measure from We got just 10% right there. Okay? This is why I think it can be a really powerful thing, because gold is a hedge, much more than Bitcoin is a hedge. People claim Bitcoin is the digital hedge against inflation and all these things. That's not how it's treated, guys. People buy Bitcoin as a essentially levered NASDAQ. It's a more volatile NASDAQ. It is heavily risk on. Gold is not necessarily like that. Okay? If inflation fears come back, if we're worried about the recessions, gold can do quite well. And I know that seems like crazy talk considering we've been at all-time highs and all this stuff. But traditionally that can happen late August, early September. So I want to start to pick up some gold. Okay? The plan with the gold ideally is kind of a short-term hold, and then we're rotating profits to buy crypto, or it can be something I hold for a longer term price target, right? If I really think, which I really do, that it's going to have this 20% move, right? And if that's the case, then maybe it holds a certain allocation, or maybe even a levered ETF in my portfolio for the rest of the year. Those are my thoughts. That's what I think you need to know right now. That's what I think you need to be thinking about. If you have Bitcoin, get ready to hit sell buttons on big green days. I think that's the area we are going into. And then September is your buy zone. For altcoins, I would say leave it alone. Start buying Ethereum in September. Other alts maybe early October. Okay, that's my timeline. Gold, I think this thing's a ticking time bomb, but until it breaks 3,400, we're kind of chopping around. So you don't have to panic or rush too hard to get into gold. Those are my thoughts, y'all. Hopefully it's helpful. Give me some feedback on the video, and I'll talk to you soon.